to feel a bit, because I'm going to have to stop and give some explanations along the way, so it's going to come across a bit disjointed.
Oh, that's fine. Training exercise.
Okay.
It's all dark.
And it's all dark. So, just to recap, there are, it's called the 6-step process because there are 6 steps. The first step is the agenda, and there's 2 parts to the agenda. There is the global agenda, and what the global agenda is about is really setting the context of the meeting. The second part is the specific agenda. And the purpose of the specific agenda is to actually get out all of the areas of interest and concern of the client, so it's focused very much on the client. When you complete the step, you do what's called an SCI, and SCI stands for Summarise, Confirm and Introduce. So what you're doing there is you're summarising the first step about the agenda, you're confirming that's what the client wants, and then you introduce step 2. Step 2 is the pictorial. And the pictorial, the aim of the pictorial, positioning as it's called, the stage 2, is to actually explain what makes HPT different from the rest of the marketplace. And here what the attempt to do is to draw the customer closer to you and turn a customer who may not be that sold to you from what I would call a not pre-sold client into someone who's far more predisposed to do business with you. And I'm not saying they will be absolutely pre-sold, but they will shift in their energy, then their feeling towards the value of doing business with you. And again, at the end of that, you do another SCI, and then you move on to stage 3. Stage 3 is what we call the fact find. And the fact find has 2 parts to it. There is a fact find where you're asking factual questions, and you do an SCI at the end of that. And then you go into what's known as a feel find, and that's about bringing out what would the feelings be in the business. And that's partly to take people through a process where they've done some thinking and they've done some feeling, so it gives them a full experience, but also to kind of disturb them at some level, so that they're more prone to saying, I want to listen to what your solution is. And at the end of that, again, you do an SCI. Step 4 is the presentation, and that is where you present the solution, the opportunity for them to take it to the next level. At the end of the presentation, you do another little SCI, but what you do is you actually do a close at that point, and then you just wait for an answer. So there's what's called a pause at the end of the step 4. The customer will respond. I'm not going to go into detail now about how they respond, but the customer will respond, and generally it's one of 3 responses. May not be verbalised to this, but response 1 will be, yeah, let's do this. That means they're buying. The second response is, tell me more about, and what they've actually done is they've just added, and this is the way to look at it, they've just added another item to their specific agenda. And it may be they've got more than one, so you have to tease out whether they've got more items. And if there are, you just go back in step 1, and then you just take it down to step 3 to do a fact find, feel find around those specific items that came up, and back into presenting. So it's just kind of following the loop. No need to present again, go to position it again at the second stage. So if they've added agenda, there's a way of doing that. So that's the second thing they will do, is say, tell me about. And the third thing they will do is they will delay the decision. And they will generally say something along the lines, I want to think about it. So you've just got a process for how do I deal with it if a client wants to think about it. So that's what I would call, the end of the 4th step when you've kind of finished there. 5th step is to summarise. And what your summary is very, very simple. All you're saying to the customer at the end of it is, so we've talked about this, this, this and this. It's a brief summary of it. This is the option to you. And you ask 2 questions at the end. The first question is and you take responsibility yourself. Don't ask them if they've understood everything, because that's put on them. You say, have I explained everything clearly enough? And you also ask them if there's anything that they would like to have heard that you haven't told. So have I missed anything out? So you're just closing the loop off in the summary to make sure that everything's been covered to their satisfaction. And then step 6 is, so these are the agreed next actions. So that's the 6-step process. So what I want to do now is kind of do a role play and try and take you through it, and I'm going to take you through it in the context that I'm the HPT salesman, and I'm actually coming out with the intention, in my own mind, although I'm not going to tell you that I'm looking to get an improvement with you to buy into the concept of an improvement with you.
Mhm.
So, what I would like you to do is think of a company and just give me a bit of an overview of what the company is, who they are, so I can kind of have sort of an awareness that a salesman would do if they were going to a call. So choose a company and that might have a bit of reality to you.
Is Steve, is Rob going to be the customer?
Who's for you?
I don't mind.
When you do one do you know?
Any business, doesn't matter how big, I mean, reasonable size.
Yeah, you want a reasonable, you want a size.
So as a construction business,
Hang on, sorry, I just thought of something that I'm going to need to do because this pictorial is new to me and I need to just be able to
Yeah.
glance up on that.
TV switch to stuff off.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I only
Oh,
need
okay.
it for my.
Right.
I only need it for my basic. Okay. Sorry.
Construction business,
Okay.
they make houses.
Yeah.
And at any one time they might have 20 sites. And at each site they have a building site, which has a construction manager,
Yeah.
etc., and a sales site, sales centre, which then, once they've built the houses, is responsible for selling them.
Yeah.
They've got 2 offices, one in the southeast and one sort of Hertfordshire, I think it is.
So Kent and Hertfordshire, yeah.
Yeah, and within the head offices is sort of the main, you know, the design function,
Yeah.
the IT function, the accounts, the management.
Yeah.
And they employ about 200 people.
Brilliant. Name of the company?
Crowdace.
Crowd.
Crowdace Homes. Croudace.
Okay. So just to give it a bit more context, you've agreed to a meeting with me, because what I've done is I've talked to you about the unique approach that we've got now to delivering profit improving technology into organisations, and I'd like to come explore it with you. And that was pretty much the pitch I made, and you've said about 20 minutes of your time. And if you're not interested after 5 minutes, I'll get out of your day and I'll let you go on with your day. So I kind of said I'm not going to take time off you if you're not interested. Okay? Which incidentally is a really important point. You should be able to go to them. I'm going to need about half an hour of your time, but what I will promise you this, after 5 minutes I'm going to check in with you if you're interested, and if you're not, I will clear out and let you get on with your day, because I appreciate your time is important. So when I set up the appointment I will say that. When I go into the client, before I get into the sales meeting, the meeting proper as I call it, I'm going to do all of the rapport building, maybe talk about the weather, did you see the football, what happened with the tech, so all of that stuff I'm kind of going to do, and then eventually I will get round to the business end of the meeting, the sales process, if that makes sense. So I'm going to pick up as though I've done all of the rapport building, done all of the niceties. And I'm going to get down to the business. I always take with me pen and paper. Really, really important to be able to do this properly. You have to take pen and paper. What I would tend to do on the sheet of paper, I would head it up with the company's name, like Crowdace, Homes. I'd put on the top of it a context, and my context at this stage would be explore. I would then just put the names of the people present. So we're going to call you Robert for this meeting.
Yeah.
Robert and Martin. Okay, and then I would write down the word agenda and put the word explore again. So I would have gone in with that completed and done. That would be ready when I went into the clients. So I would get down to it and say, Robert, I really appreciate you giving me some time today. And I said to you it's going to take probably about half an hour. But I also promise you that after 5 minutes, if you weren't interested, I would get out of this chair and give you back your day, get out of your hair and give you back your day, because I appreciate your time is really important. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So just to check in with you, the purpose of this meeting, as I see it, is just to explore whether or not HPT's profit improvement in technology is something that may be of value to Prodata components.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So to help you understand whether or not these tools and technology that I'm going to share with you could be of value to your business, what specifically would you like to make sure that I've covered off before I leave here today?
Well, I want to know a little bit about your business
Yeah.
and specifically what you refer to as profit improving technology. And that would include, you know, some examples of who you've done it for, that kind of thing. I would like to try and put some context around what the issues that some of the challenges that I think we've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps understand your thoughts on those challenges.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And what you think process might be subsequently.
Okay.
So what process? What would you then want to do?
So if I could just recapture that, you'd like to know a little bit about HPT. You'd like to know a little bit more about what we mean by profit improvement technology. You'd like some examples around that. You'd like to get some context on some of the issues and challenges that you face within the business today. And you'd also like to get some of our kind of thoughts on that and some of our responses to it. And you'd like to understand a little bit around the process. Now, that might be everything, that's a good agenda, but if there's anything that you can add to that that would really make your day great value, make this a really good value meeting, is there anything you'd like to add?
Not particularly.
Just checking there, the reason I asked that question, and I'm offline now, sometimes, and I've been into it where I've asked that question and I've had it before where somebody's gone, yeah, particularly when I was coaching, they go, yeah, not just how can I keep, we're number one in the market, but we're slipping in business, and how do we stay number one? And we've got a cultural issue, and how do we, and they gave me about another 10 things that were kind of all meeting, you know, it's like, wow, you know, it was fantastic. So it's just worth asking that question.
Okay.
So if I...
Like a magic wand question.
Yeah, just a magic
wand
question at the end. That's, you know, and sometimes you get nothing and sometimes you get a gem. It's just, I'll just ask you. Okay. So if I can tell you about product improvement, HPT, examples, context, etc., and I do all of that in the time we've got today, that'll be time well spent for you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, perhaps I could just ask you, what do you know of HPT today?
I don't know very much. I had a quick look on the website,
Yeah.
and you phoned me.
Under review the website, and I think when I share with you, perhaps you'll understand why it is currently under review. So would it actually help you if I just took 2 minutes, and this is where if you go no at the end, I'll get out of your hair, would it just help if I took just a couple of minutes to share with you the number one reason I think why clients actually choose HPT today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Well, look, the reality is this, the number one reason I believe that clients choose HPT is because what we really focus on is this concept of delivering only things that we would call profit improving technology. In other words, it's got to deliver significant benefits and advantages to your business. And if it doesn't do that, as far as we're concerned as a company, we've absolutely failed. And we've adopted this approach after doing a lot of work in the market and a lot of research. You see, you probably won't ever have done it, but if you were to look at the market and how the market functions in technology, and certainly go on websites and have a look if you want to, what you'll find is they all focus on product, and what they talk to you about is, the latest product and what's in that product and what product they offer, etc. You'll find very often there's a lot of jargon around in the industry. And they'll talk about MPLS and EFMs and this and that, etc. What the latest trends are, and they'll tell you, where everybody's going and looking at areas of the business, etc. And what they're really doing is, because they're kind of sellers and they focus on being resellers of products, they tend to be very sales-led. Because their job is to sell a product, understandably. And with that, we believe it actually delivers limitations to any business, ultimately. What really HPT to do different is we don't focus on the products, the jargon, the trends, or anything along those lines. We focus on understanding your business and getting closer to it. And what we really look at are things like, what are the things we can do where you can profit? And we will look at a number of areas, things like, is there anything we can do that's going to improve security within the business, whether that's making your customers more secure, your staff more secure, your business more secure, whatever it may be. How can we improve reliability? Are there any things we can do to increase satisfaction, take away frustrations, give better customer service, make staff happy, or a whole number of things? Can we help you and drive productivity and efficiency into your business through savings, through time, and a whole number of areas? What are the things we can do to help you make your business more flexible so you can respond to the ever-changing needs of the marketplace and changes, particularly in your business? If you want to get from one side to another, how can you do it all very well? And the really good thing about it is we've thought really hard about this, and what we've developed is a unique approach. And this new unique approach to the marketplace, I don't think you'll see another company in this industry that does it. And what this unique approach does, it says to you, we will deliver improvement to your business that represents good value for money to you, and if we don't, we have a guarantee on it where you'll actually get your money back. And what that makes us different in the marketplace is this: what we're not is a business that's focused on telephones, IT, and products. Yeah, we offer them, but that's not where our focus is. Our focus is on how can we improve performance, how can we help people make their job easier, make them happier, and how can we help your business profit? So tell me, is that the sort of thing that might be of value to you?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Would it be helpful if I gave you this to keep?
Yes.
Right. So if that is of value to you, that's really good. So perhaps we start by, perhaps I could ask you a few questions about your company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop. That was the first time I've done it. Took me a bit too long. Did it feel too long?
No, it felt okay. I think it probably could have been a bit slicker, but I didn't particularly notice that. I think you could bolster it a bit with, some of the language. I think you'd get better at.
Yeah.
IT. We could expand on that jargon and things like that. And I think maybe that, a slight, I'm being overcritical, but a slightly slicker presentation of those areas of the business that we looked at, but I thought it was good.
So I just want to recap on what I've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing I want to do is just ask you, whatever you do, don't think of pink elephants. What's just happened?
Thinking pink elephant.
Okay. So when I do the global agenda, I'm trying to make the global agenda as soft as possible, as non-threatening as possible. If I've come in to show you what we can do and how we can help you. Does that sound like I'm pushing you? Whereas what I'm trying to do is open a space so you come towards me. And what the mind doesn't hear is the word not. Because when I said to you, don't think of pink elephants, you did. So the mind dismisses that word. So whether I use the word not in my thing actually is not important. It doesn't have anything. So one of the things I've done is I've used the word explore to make it safe. I've said whether or not, because that kind of gives a sense that I'm not trying to push you. But I've also embedded a command, because if you don't hear the word not, it's like don't walk on the grass, and people go and walk on the grass. So when I say to explore whether or not HP improvement tools is good for your business, what I'm saying is HP improvement tools are good for your business. So I've embedded a command there. Okay, and I've also got you going yes, because I asked you if that's why we're meeting. So I've got you going yes straight away. I then said, so to help you understand whether or not HP tools are good for you, so I've re-embedded the command, what specifically would you like to get you from the meeting? So I've grounded the meeting in the sense of knowing, got you nodding, embedded a couple of commands, and I haven't done anything that much yet. And then I get you thinking, and you're telling me, and what are you telling me? You're telling me all the things that I've got to tell you for you to get interested in moving towards me. So I haven't had to do any work so far. And then I say, is there anything else? And you've gone, no, that would be good. And then I ask, well, would it be a good meeting if we get through it? And you've gone, yes. So I've now got you say yes twice. And then I go, would it help if I just showed you and not get out your hair? Is that good? And you went, yes, the third time. And then I went through the pictorial and told you that and said, is that sort of thing could be of value to you? And you went, yes, the fourth time. So what I've also started to do is to, yes, get you into the kind of mind frame of saying yes. So I've done quite a lot of work in how long? Not that long.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Now, if the client says, no, I'm not interested in that, then you can say, well, what are you interested in? And if they say, well, I only want you to supply me with a blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
you can say, well, that's not what we do. And if you, or you can say, well, that's what we do, and you can change your approach. Or you can say, well, that's not what we do, and I said I'd get out of your hair, so, you know, I really appreciate your time, and, you know, the best thing I can do is let you go on with your day, so I appreciate your visit. So I've qualified, I've pulled you towards me, I've done quite a lot in just those first 2 steps. So really quite important steps, and yet not hard to do once you get comfortable with them. And I'm sure once I did that a few times, I would improve. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might go with that pre-prepared. And if I did it pre-prepared, I would still take a pen with me and I'd put ticks behind it. And I'd put crosses by the other one and things like that, and then say, would this be of value to you? I would give it to somebody, and the reason I would give that to somebody, why?
So they can explain it to somebody else.
That's one reason. It becomes a internal selling tool for you. Second reason.
Well, it's a good summary of the
Reinforces
positioning piece. So if they've forgotten, you know, it's an aid memoir.
It's a big memoir for them. And what the thing is, what we're told, we forget so much of it, whereas we've written it down and we've given it to somebody. And the other thing that I've done, I've involved you just by the act of saying, would you like it, handing it over, doing things like that. I've kind of involved you into the process. So I've done quite a lot of quite subtle things, but quite powerful things very, very early on. So I've now completed step 1 and step 2. My summary at the end of step 2 was almost to say, so what we're not is a company that's focused on telecoms, IT and products. Yes, we do offer those, but that's not what we focus on. What we are is about focusing on improvement. How can we help your performance, help your people in terms of their happiness and your staff, etc., and help you to help your profit, help your business profit? Is that the sort of thing you're interested in? So it was a summary, and my SCI confirmation was, is that the sort of thing you're interested in? We went yes, and then I can go, great. So perhaps we could start by give me an explanation about your business. So I've now moved into step 3, fact find. Okay. So when I go into this fact find, I haven't yet given thought to what questions I would actually ask. So this is a bit of fly by my seat pants again, but I know some of the things that I would definitely ask. So the first thing I would go is, that's great. So I'm just going to step back, pretend I've just come back down and said, so what we're not is this, what we are is that. Is that the sort of thing you could be interested in? You go, yes, could be. Great. So perhaps I could just start by asking you a bit of information about your business, Robert. And what I'd like to do, just to help my thinking, is I'd like if you could give me some information. Tell me about the business, where it's come from and where it is today. And then I want to explore a little bit more about where you're going in the future. But just really tell me about where your history is, who got you here today first, and then when you finish that, just tell me about where you are today. That'd be really helpful.
Okay.
Okay?
It's a privately owned business.
Yeah.
Started in 1965.
What years?
Started principally as a house builder
Yeah.
in the sort of we say housing stock, the lower end of the market, if you like.
Okay.
And the business, was quite successful. Grew gradually. We bought more land. Had a bit of a problem in the 80s, housing crash.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that. It's a tough old time, I remember that well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ended up buying some land that we then couldn't develop, and had all those kind of issues. And then I suppose you would argue that the last 10 years we've enjoyed a period of growth. We've had a difficult time economically, but the business hasn't actually been affected that greatly during that period.
Oh, that's good. Particularly in the recession.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that we've got less projects on than we had before, but we find that we're sort of reasonably consistent with the amount of projects that we've got on the go. The difficulty is buying the land.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And in the last 6 months, we've restructured the business internally. We got this second office about 2 or 3 years ago.
Just where's you got the second? Where is that?
Letchworth.
Okay.
And that was originally designed to have certain parts of the management of the business closer to areas that we were developing.
Yeah.
But we've more recently decided to kind of split the business in two, if you like. So we'll have a northern side of the business and a southern side of the business, and some of the functions will be replicated within each.
Okay. And just if you could kind of give me some of the metrics around the business, i.e. sort of rough sort of turnover now, number of people you employ, just so I get a feel for.
Turnover, I think, is about 50 million, and staff is about 200. We have about 120 in Caterham, about 30 in Letchworth, and the remainder are out on site.
Yeah. And sites, how many sites, you said earlier that you kind of have had pretty consistent on your projects.
Yes.
How many sites do you tend to
Kind of around the 20 mark.
I suppose they're split between managed by Letchworth and
Well, no, they're predominantly managed from an IT point of view from here. But from a building point of view, it depends on which office they're nearest to.
That's impressive, actually. You think 965, and particularly through the house issues of the 80s and even going into the early 90s, and then it's been a bit of a roll. But to hear you've done some sort of consistent on your projects, which has been very, very good. congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's given me a really good feel for where they are at the moment. Appreciate that. So perhaps we could just turn our attention to the future. So perhaps just give me a view of what you see happening and where you, you know, if you can look over the next 2 to 5 years, where you see Kodak going and what you see happening and etc. in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, obviously a challenge at the moment is these sort of two separate offices,
Yeah.
and sort of splitting the management up, which means that you know, we've got issues in terms of sort of replicating information, and kind of staff location issues a little bit. You know, some staff from here may be required up there, etc. I think what we've had in the past is sort of different business units, some focusing on sort of social housing, some focusing on the luxury end. We've kind of drawn that back in really, you know, now quite clearly focused on the mid-range family market, if you like, and then and a top end kind of luxury homes, and that's the area that we would like to try and expand.
Top of the top end luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So sorry, you said top end and you said mid.
Yeah, a mid-range sort of family home in the sort of £400,000 price bracket.
Yeah. And in your mind, what's the sort of top end?
Sort of 850 upwards, that kind of.
Quite prestigious properties then.
Sure.
Yeah. So you see your shift moving over there over the next 2 to 5 years, much more towards this top end.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the you know, kind of a demanding end, but a rewarding end if you get there. I imagine.
Yeah, I think you know, the southeast is blossoming a little bit. There's a lot of demand for property,
Yeah.
and there is this sort of north-south divide a little bit, if you like.
Mm.
Most of our developments are, you know, around London, and we all know what's happening in the London property market.
Yeah.
So pushing out to the areas that we're in. We see that sort of continuing.
In terms of, you know, obviously this shift into your marketplace, and you're kind enough to tell me earlier you're doing about 50 million turnover, but you want to move to this luxury end and obviously keep consistent in your project. So what sort of turnover do you think you're going to go looking to achieve in the next 2 to 5 years?
I think the target for 5 years is to push that to 75.
Okay, so 50% uplift. Which is ambitious, but by no means not unachievable. I mean, if you're doing the right thing, I'm sure you can. That's excellent. So you've got this drive to grow your business, move up the top end of the market, and to look at those. So let me just kind of come back to the area where it might be with me in terms of those. If you look at your business today and you were to look at technology, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you see technology for the day-to-day running and management of your business? How important role does it play?
8.
8 out of 10. And what makes you kind of think 8 out of 10 as opposed to 6 or 10 out of 10?
Well, you know, I could probably have argued 10 out of 10. I mean, it's absolutely vital that I don't tend to give 10s.
Okay. Okay. I just wondered if there was any kind of reason. So you're actually saying it's absolutely vital.
Yeah.
And as you move forward over the next 5 years, do you see technology as just remaining as vital, or do you see it becoming more vital and more important to the way you run and manage your business?
Well, I certainly see technology developing,
Mm-hmm.
and business, you know, probably being, if anything, more rather than less reliant on technology, and therefore, I suppose you could say it's more important. But it's so important now. It's difficult to see it becoming necessarily more important, but it will continue to be vital.
Yeah, so it seems to be vital, I think. Okay, so in technology, can you just give me a quick overview of what you've got in place and currently what you...
Sure.
Yeah.
I've got a telephone system in Caterham. we've got, we predominantly run a remote desktop function called Citrix, and the guys out on the site, they all access the systems via Citrix. So we have a broadband connection out on site. They also have phone facilities on site, fixed line, but we give the site managers mobiles as well, because sometimes they're starting the site, they don't have telephony or whatever.
Yeah.
And we operate all the servers from here in Caterham, and I suppose we've got about 120 desktops. There's myself and 2 other guys who help run that, and we're also responsible for all the printers and the like. We've also got 2 traditional mainframe servers, some that run our databases for us. We have a couple of developers that help us with that. And then in Letchworth, we've got our own lease line connection in there, and we operate our own servers, but it's a managed office, so we have to use the phone system that's in place.
Yeah, one of the things if I kind of remember that you were saying is that I did make a note of, I think, so you don't mind if I just refer back
Sure.
so I make sure I got it absolutely correct. You said something about replicating information between the 2 offices. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, you know, the amount of data that we're storing is growing. We've got this second office. We're starting to think in terms of business continuity, disaster recovery. So what we're trying to do is sort of get one office to mirror the other at any one time,
Yeah.
so that if for whatever reason the office is inaccessible or whatever, then staff would be able to access the same level of information simply from a different site.
Yeah. So, vitally important, 8 out of 10, so could even be 10 out of 10. You see yourself relying on it more. Can I just ask in terms of this, customer interaction with how much do they use they being coming in, how much customer interaction would you have coming in through your system? Be it email, be it telephone, what sort of?
Well, obviously, you know, website is very important, and you know, customers tend to interact through the sales centres.
Mainly sales centres, and how do they do that?
Or you know, walk in.
Yeah. Okay. Calling? Do you get many incoming calls from them? Or is it
Yes, yeah, and through marketing activity that we do.
And, yeah, an incoming call for a house at £150,000 is a
Don't wanna miss
very
it.
important call, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you don't want to miss it. Yeah. Okay. And what about emails? Is there much happening on emails, etc.?
Little bit.
So mainly it'd be either walking in or calling in.
Mm.
Right, I'm going to take a break. How does it feel?
Okay.
Doesn't feel as I'm just trying to get information. And I haven't even talked anything about systems yet.
No,
It's
just
just
asking about the business.
But did it give you a feeling I was really trying to understand rather than trying to kind of go, well, what about this and what about that? And
Yeah, you were trying to build a picture in your head of you know, what was going on in the business
Yeah.
and what challenges it had, what plans we had.
yeah. Okay. So now, I feel now I've got enough now that I can start to drift the conversation into what I would call kind of raising some of the concerns and things along those lines. And I needed to just take a bit of time because I wanted to think about that before I go and do it. Do you want to turn that off for a second and we can have a little conversation around it? What's your, any observations, thoughts?